Every geography has its own learning curve. And I think for us, what always worked, and this is something that I tell everyone and anyone who is expanding geographically, not only, let's say in India or in their home country, but outside of the country as well, is that you need to first give respect to the fact that every geography is going to have certain nuances which are very specific to them. It's not going to be a copy paste of what you have learned. It is not going to be anything that worked here may or may not work over there. Having that clarity that you need to know that geography better, you need to know that market better, having the openness to learn and see what does that stand for. Are there challenges which are very specific to that geography? Are there opportunities that are very specific to that geography? Are there rewards which look differently in that geography? Are you going to get reprimanded for something very different in this? Is something that you need to seek. If you're not seeking that, then basically what you're saying is that you are entering a new region. You're expanding with a lot of arrogance and ego, which is almost stupid. Because in your home market, in your home region, it can be a city, it can be a state, it can be a country. You are natural about a lot of things. You just know things. You are intuitive about them. You need to be aware that your intuition may be your weapon here, but that means you are lacking weaponry in a new war zone. That means you are literally entering a war zone without any weapon. There is a very, very high chance that you're going to get killed just because you are not ready. इंडिया में दिल्ली की कंपनी साउथ में नहीं काम कर पाती, साउथ वाली कंपनी दिल्ली में नहीं काम कर पाती, वेस्ट में तो कुछ और ही अलग चल रहा है, ईस्ट में बिल्कुल ही कुछ अलग चल रहा है. Gujarat looks like an ecosystem of its own. Bengal, West Bengal overall looks like an ecosystem of own. I'm not even going towards, rest of the northeastern states. When you hit West Bengal, you get a shock because you suddenly feel, all the brands are different. There are these, it's a microcosm of its own. You go to Tamil Nadu, it's a microcosm that you can't even understand if you're a North Indian because there's a language barrier. And same happens for Tamil people when they come out. They also feel a little alienated because there is a language gap. When you look at India, within India there is so much diversity that you will realize that you know nothing. And when you go to a new market, that's what we do. We go to a new market with an attitude that we don't know anything. We need to learn. We need to figure out what happens here, what works here. We need to talk to people. This attitude, of course, opens us up to learning. But more than that, what it does to us naturally is that our gestation period is what we are looking forward to. We know it is not going to hit on day one. We know that it is going to take time. Because we already talked about it. We said, we need to learn. I think for us at Posist, growing across geographies has happened purely through this mindset. That when we go to a new country, new city, this was our attitude back in 2012 when we started expanding across India. And this remains our attitude in 2023 when we are still opening new markets as we are speaking. And our comfort with uncertainty, our comfort with not knowing anything is actually quite high. Because जब आप किसी न्यू टेरिटरी में एंटर करते हो और आप ये सोच के एंटर करते हो कि मेरे को सब आता है, तो फिर आपकी पिटाई होती है ये बताने के लिए कि आपको नहीं आता है. पर जब आप किसी टेरिटरी में ये सोच के एंटर करते हो कि मुझे कुछ नहीं आता है, तो एक्चुअली आपका आदर सत्कार होता है क्योंकि लोग कहते हैं नहीं इतनी ऐसी बात नहीं है, तेरे को आता है, ये तो तेरे को ऑलरेडी पता है. तो इट्स रियली अबाउट हाउ यू लुक एट लाइफ एंड योर एक्सपीरियंस इन दैट टेरिटरी विल चेंज. सेकेंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज दैट व्हेन you know that it is not going to work on day one, when you know that there is so much, for you to learn, you also commit to that geography. I think for us, global expansion has come at the back of that. कि हमें मालूम है कि 1 महीने में कुछ नहीं होगा, 6 महीने में कुछ नहीं होगा, 1 साल में कुछ नहीं होगा. But at the same time, we also committed to that geography. हमने बोला यार जब तक नहीं होगा ना तब तक ट्राई मारेंगे और अलग अलग तरीके से ट्राई मारेंगे. And we also always try to look at global expansion or regional expansion as a weapon to remain agile. See, as a company, the kind of agility it gave us is massive. For our team at the product level, for our team at technical support, for our team at onboarding implementation, for our sales team, for our account, almost every team, they basically became aware of the fact that, oh, something that worked here will not work here. Something that works here works in the B market may not work in the C market. The attitude of learning, the attitude of being curious became quite ingrained in the team. People were not losing their shit as soon as uncertainty hit them. In fact, they were looking forward to uncertainty. They knew that there is going to be uncertainty. Companies that, regional expansion goes wrong for so many companies all the time. And for example, we were talking to an American company who acquired another player, tried to, of course, work with them, and then almost ran the business down to zero in a certain region and shut down. And I was talking to one of the leaders on the American side. I was also talking to the leader at the regional side. And both of them, their version was exactly this. The American one says, oh, those guys don't know how to do business. And the guy in the region basically said that these guys never bothered to know how business happens in this region. They basically tried to copy paste their ways onto us, and it failed. Now, who's wrong and who's right? I am not here to comment on whether that company, whether this was a make and break for that company. Probably that American company didn't care. Probably they do. But fact is that if they had gone into that geography, assuming that they don't know how to do business there, us trying to understand what those people stand for, what are the nuances that are local, that are important, what does reward and punishment look like in that market. I was in China, and a few people I was talking to, one guy said, oh, I'm very happy working here. He was working in a chip design company in Shenzhen. He said, I'm very happy working here. My last workplace was very bad. And I got curious and I said, why are you happy here? He said, oh, culture is very good. I said, okay. What, according to you, is a good culture and a bad culture? Can you give me an example? You'll be surprised by what this guy said. He said, oh, these people give you 1 entire hour for lunch. And I was like, what do you mean, 1 entire hour for lunch? So when I am on lunch, nobody bothers me. And that's it. And I was like, what am I missing here? And this was a VLSI engineer. I was not talking to somebody who was unskilled. You know what I discovered about Chinese culture? Actually, that's true in a lot of Asian cultures, but Chinese specifically. For Chinese people, their lunch and dinner, you assume that you're doing with family, Their lunch is a sacred time for them. Lunch is supposed to be had with people, where you talk, where you eat, where you socialize, where you unwind, and they like to eat their lunch slow, a lot, and long. So for that person, that 1 hour of lunch is therapy. That's why you will see that, in China, there are so many lunch places that you'll see in Southeast Asia in general. There are a lot of these food halls, family style eating places. They're always full at lunchtime. In Singapore at lunchtime, you will not be able to find seat in a restaurant that easily, especially if it's a casual dine restaurant. Now, this is one nuance that is very important for you to know if you're working in China. It is extremely important for you to understand that if you're hiring Chinese people, these can be things which can make somebody rate a workplace good or bad? Sounds very trivial, but that's the lay of the land. If you don't understand it, there's a very, very high chance that you may fail working in China or with Chinese people. And this applies to almost every culture. Every culture has its own nuances which are very, very specific to them. And if you don't know it, you won't be able to hack it. So at Possessed, I think we have there are so many regions where we have not succeeded. But we continue to compound that because we also try to figure what is the long-term utility of a region. उस रीजन से हमें क्या मिल रहा है अगर हम वहाँ पे अपना समय और पैसा खर्च रहे हैं, because there is always an opportunity cost. The same amount of time and the same amount of money and the same amount of energy could have been, invested in some other territory. It could have been invested in a territory which is working for them. It is always a trade-off. You are taking away some time and money from the region that is working for you. But in a 10-year horizon, it felt like that I need to conquer that region. And we are in just year 4. So technically we still have 6 more years to go before we sunset on that. There are certain regions where we sunset early as well, where we just could not find either the reason to continue because we could not see that region for 10 years for us, or we could not find a utility which can be extrapolated somewhere else. जो हम उस region से सीख रहे हैं, अगर हमें नहीं लगा कि हम कहीं और use कर पा रहे हैं, तो हमें लगा कि okay, while it is not working, it is also not giving us any other benefit. But commitment has actually helped us much more, than anything else. It has also saved us from just going to any region. Because जब हमने एक region में जाके बहुत invest किया और वहाँ पे high commitment रखी, what we learned is that the cost of starting a region is high. So that told us that don't be hedonistic about it. तमीज से, धीरे. अगर किसी रीजन में जा रहे हैं तो उसके लिए बजट है या नहीं है, टाइम है या नहीं है, एनर्जी है या नहीं है. बिकॉज पिछले वाले में 3 साल लग गए हैं, या उसमें 4 साल लग गए हैं, या उसमें 2 साल लग गए हैं. तो अगर उतना फ्यूल नहीं है तो प्लीज डोंट स्टार्ट दैट. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ हैज जस्ट इट हैज बिकम लाइक अ सेल्फ सर्विंग loop, but it made us sane while it kept us agile to just go anywhere.